Good morning, guys, and welcome back to our CNC Turning Techniques channel. Now I want to create a series of tutorials to examine. All those times when the lathe doesn't turn properly, meaning what it means when you tell the lathe to do a certain thing and it does something similar or different, but not from the programming perspective, rather from the perspective of the piece's outcome. A typical example is when you make a facing from x plus to x minus and the piece ends up either concave or convex. This can be one of the examples, and the causes can be multiple. For example, they can be derived simply from the pressure of the clamps or from an incorrect turning of the clamps, but also just think about when you take a piece of paper in your hand, whether it's round or not. When you close it, it can do this or that. If you straighten it with a tool, when you release it, the piece does this. This can be an example. Other things. We will see when you do cylindrical turning, but it's not cylindrical. Why is it if turned overhanging, whether you use the tailstock or not? Let's look at a series of things that are normally not taught in courses. And at school for a very simple reason. The courses are made by machine tool dealers who obviously sell you a new machine. So they consider the fact that you have a super performing machine, but beyond the machine, the chuck itself can wear out. Many elements of the machine can wear out. The guides, the spindle, the turret can get bent because you hit the piece. And at this point it's obvious that just like a road car, when it crashes into a tree, no matter how much you fix it, it will never be the same car again. Similarly, if the lathe has defects, if it is not properly fixed, or at least if it's old, it will start to struggle. Obviously, the possibilities in this field are thousands. Let's be content to see a few of them. At least let's start to get our heads spinning and thinking. Out of the box, okay? Well, today I will tell you about an experience I had, but they are all fundamentally lived experiences. This piece that I simulated at ECAM, on ECAM, is a very simple piece. Look at what it does now. I will perform the simulation for you. It's a ring. We don't care about the measurements. We don't give a damn about the measurements. This ring is faced, and with the same tool, in reality, it doesn't go back up. It stays here. It rests. It faces it again by 2 or 3/10 and turns the outside. I have a client who does a very similar job. Now, let's move on to this, which is my tablet that I will use for writing. I make myself very, very small. And fundamentally, what does my client do? He has a ring. Forgive the drawing. The ring is rough on the thickness and the internal diameter. Let's say he does the first phase first, but we don't really care. He takes it on the internal diameter. Then, with a rhombic, a CNMG, he rests here, descends to face off, let's say, the bulk of the ring, advances by 2/10, rises, and does this work here. He had many to do. He had at his disposal a machine. Single spindle, rather large, so quite a big machine. And since the work increased on a machine of the same brand and model, he replicates the same cycle. Well, the finished product came out like this. That is, this plane was not perpendicular to the external diameter, but was concave. He calls me and says, I'm going crazy because my employees can't figure it out. They tried the turret play, they tried many things, because I too would first tell them to check the machines for twins that Might be more or less worn out, by the way. We were in 2020, they were 2007 machines, I told him. You will have the turret with elastic jibs. So, probably the turret bends. And he tells me no. Look, I did a very simple test, which is the one I would have done. This is the turret. I placed it on top of my tailstock. I placed a magnetic dial indicator on the guides, the magnetic base. I placed the dial indicator on the turret. Actually, not here, sorry. Wait while I try to erase. I placed my dial indicator on the turret. Then with a crowbar, I applied leverage in this direction. Now close it. Forgive the drawing, but I tried to bend the turret in this direction, or up and down. And the dial indicator, no matter how much force I applied, moved just barely. I mean less than 1/100th. So the turret is in good condition. What could it be? Surely there is some play or something. I don't think your toolmaker made a concave program. No, it's exactly the same machine program transferred from machine 1 to machine 2. Let me take a look. I take a look, make 2 or 3 pieces, and quickly identify the problem. Because I asked them, did you move the tool to another station? No. Did you change the type of tool to see if maybe it's straining too much because the machine is old? No, the tool has always been the same from the beginning. Question mark. The tool has been a constant since the beginning of the tests. They were a bit superficial. And now, I'll show you why. What you see, unfortunately, I couldn't find a 3D model of a CNMG. This is an SNMG, so square. Whereas they were using a CNMG, only this one was 80 degrees. What you see is a tool holder. Okay? I'll show it to you better. In 3D. Upper bracket. Here it is. Brand new. And as you can see, the insert fits perfectly on the 2 sides. Well, the tool that you see, what I saw mounted was a tool that was probably as old as my son, about a dozen years. It looked nice at first glance, polished, with new spare parts, but look here. Over time, tools wear out either because they were previously used for heavy-duty machining, but let's go over here to the corner. If the insert doesn't fit well, on the sides, the insert might do this kind of work here. Okay? And that's exactly what was happening to our CNMG. Let's go back to our whiteboard. Let's clear the page. What happens to our CNMG? This is our CNMG, which doesn't touch here and doesn't touch here. So it can rotate around its center by just a few degrees, but when I'm working, all the forces push my cutting edge into this position. I'm exaggerating now, but they make it rotate in this direction, and it moves forward. Perfect. The surface is roughened like this. Then, what does it do? It moves forward by 2/10, rises, and profiles. As it rises, the insert moves here. There it is. When it touches, bam, it suddenly shifts. And thus I get a finished surface. This is due to the worn-out tool. Tool changed, problem solved. Having said that, however, I'll give you another hint, another thought to ponder. Because no matter how new and nice the tools are, they always undergo a minimum amount of wear. What does this mean? It means that when you are machining, especially if finishing with a CNMG, a triangular insert, or any insert that is not braced solidly but has some play, the advice is always to machine the piece in a single direction, especially if you have very tight tolerances in the order of 300ths. Because before, sooner or later, the tool will have a slight play in this direction. Let's say the tool has 1 or 2 hundredths of play. If you have 3 of tolerance, this will get you. If you always work in the same direction, the tool will always work under pressure. So it will be silent under pressure back here and won't have this problem. So my client performed that operation because they had many pieces of low quality from a dimensional standpoint and needed to produce many in a short time. But if you need to ensure quality, rough with one tool and finish with another. Always make the 2 tools work in the same direction. This is first example of a lathe that doesn't lathe. Now, we will see some others. I hope I was clear. If I wasn't, please ask questions and help me be clearer in the future. On my channel, you will find everything you need for programming is already there. If you are thinking only about turning with the C-axis, because that's what I have addressed, so turning motorized tools with the C-axis, you will find everything you need. Programming, macros. You will also find the manual guide and direct programming, so we have already covered that. If you are missing a topic, let me know. I can't respond to everyone, but I will link as much as possible the video related to your question. Now let's try to focus on what could be practical examples. I will provide practical examples related to this. Let's call it a lathe that doesn't lathe, so to what they don't teach you in courses. And then I will take some pieces and create a cycle for them. Sometimes I will use standard ISO programming, sometimes I will use CAD CAM. ECAM V4 has been released. I will show it to you. Sometimes I will use the manual guide. I will provide examples to try to cover a bit of everything. So I might add a playlist titled Practical Examples. Having said that, I would like in the future, I might repeat this in my videos, and I would like to hear your opinion. To open the possibility of subscribing to the channel, yes, because it would be a bit convenient for me. If I want to continue, I have to invest time in it. What opportunities will subscribers have? They will have the opportunity to see the videos in advance. It's still a thought, I want to share it with you, but above all, they will have the possibility, which won't be guaranteed because it depends on how many I receive, to send me their designs, obviously with the decision to make them public on YouTube, even if in a, let's say, subscription form. But right now, I still don't know if YouTube provides previews of subscriber videos. I don't know how it works. I still need to figure it out. And I will create the program for you. Obviously, turning and C-axis as much as possible. Don't ask me about the Y-axis. Don't ask me about 4 or 5 axis multitasking, because that's not my field. I would do it without problems if I had to find myself in that situation one day. But I have nothing to teach. I don't feel up to it. Very simple. Well, if you've made it this far, leave me a comment and tell me what you think about this. I will never, ever hide videos that teach programming, because I think teaching programming is almost a duty for those who have a certain level of experience, something that often doesn't happen in companies where secrets are kept tightly, as if they were the 3rd, 4th, 5th secret of Fatima. Instead, I love trying to teach the little I have learned. And I say little because to some it seems like a lot. But mechanical processes truly have an infinite variety. And many times I am still learning. Guys, I thank you for being with me. If you feel like it, below the video there's a way to buy me a coffee. I never publicly thank those who have done it, but I must say that you have done it. You have done it. Someone even went overboard. Buy me a coffee, don't overdo it. Someone had overdone it, and so I thank you. I try to make good use of your help. When it's too much, maybe. I also buy a coffee for someone who can't afford it, because we shouldn't overdo it. And well, that's enough. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. It makes me happy. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.